What if the greatest obstacle to living a meaningful life isn't failure, fear, or success, but your refusal to accept one unavoidable truth? Every second that passes is a second you'll never get back, yet most people live as though time is limitless. They postpone dreams, ignore what truly matters, and waste years chasing things that will never satisfy them. In this final chapter, you'll discover why accepting mortality is not about fearing death. It's about finally learning how to live, because the moment you stop denying that your time is limited, every decision becomes more intentional, every relationship more valuable, and every day becomes an opportunity to build a life that truly matters. The awareness of death is not life's darkest truth. It is the light that gives life its deepest meaning. There is one truth every human being shares, yet almost no one is willing to face it. We organize our lives around avoiding it, distracting ourselves from it, and pretending it belongs to some distant future. But whether we acknowledge it or not, it quietly shapes every decision we make. That truth is our own mortality. Most people treat death as an uncomfortable subject, believing that ignoring it somehow makes life easier. In reality, the opposite is true. The more we deny death, the more we become prisoners of fear. We cling to comfort, postpone our dreams, avoid difficult conversations, and waste precious time believing there will always be another opportunity. This is the essence of the law of death denial. Human beings possess a unique awareness that life is finite. That awareness can either become a source of anxiety or the greatest source of purpose. The difference lies in whether we choose to escape from mortality or learn from it. History reveals that the men and women who left the deepest mark on the world did not live as though time were endless. They understood that every day carried weight because it could never be repeated. Rather than allowing the certainty of death to weaken them, they allowed it to sharpen their priorities, deepen their courage, and give meaning to every action. The tragedy is not that life eventually ends. The tragedy is that so many people begin truly living only after realizing how little time they have left. By then, countless opportunities have already disappeared. When you stop treating death as an enemy and begin accepting it as life's greatest teacher, your perspective changes completely. Petty distractions lose their power. Fear begins to fade. What truly matters becomes impossible to ignore. And the moment you accept that your time is limited, you discover a freedom that only those who embrace mortality can ever understand. That freedom begins the moment you stop measuring life by how long it lasts and start measuring it by how deeply it is lived. Most people assume they have plenty of time, so they postpone meaningful goals, delay difficult decisions, and wait for the perfect moment that rarely arrives. In doing so, they unknowingly surrender the only resource they can never recover. Death gives life its urgency. Without limits, purpose would disappear. It is the awareness that time is finite which makes love more precious, opportunities more valuable, and every meaningful choice more significant. Yet modern life constantly encourages distraction. Endless entertainment, endless comparison, and endless busyness create the illusion of progress while quietly consuming irreplaceable years. Days become routines, routines become years, and many people wake up wondering where their lives went. Those who understand mortality refuse to live on autopilot. They ask themselves difficult questions. Am I spending my time on what truly matters? Am I building a life I would be proud to remember? These questions shift attention away from temporary pleasures and toward lasting purpose. Accepting death is not an invitation to fear. It is an invitation to live with greater intention, gratitude, and courage. Every sunrise becomes a reminder that another opportunity has been given, and every decision becomes a reflection of the legacy you are creating. And once you begin valuing time as your most precious possession, an even deeper truth about mortality begins to reveal itself. The deeper truth about mortality is that it does more than remind us our time is limited. It reveals what truly deserves our attention. When you accept that every moment is finite, your priorities begin to change. The desire to impress others weakens, while the desire to live with meaning grows stronger. Many of the fears that dominate everyday life begin to lose their power. The fear of failure becomes smaller than the regret of never trying. The fear of criticism matters less than the cost of remaining silent. Slowly, you stop living for approval and start living according to your deepest values. This shift is what separates people who merely exist from those who leave a lasting impact. They understand that wealth, status, and recognition are temporary, but character, wisdom, and the lives they influence can outlive them. Mortality also transforms the way we see other people. Every person you meet is fighting the same invisible battle against time. This realization replaces arrogance with humility, resentment with compassion, and impatience with understanding. The purpose of reflecting on death is never to become consumed by it. The purpose is to become fully awake to life. When you stop pretending tomorrow is guaranteed, today becomes infinitely more valuable. And once you begin living with that awareness, you uncover the final lesson of this law, one that explains why accepting death is ultimately the greatest celebration of life itself. The greatest celebration of life begins when you stop treating death as a distant event and start allowing it to guide your choices today. This awareness does not make life darker, it makes it clearer. It strips away illusions and forces you to confront what is truly worth your limited time. Many people spend years chasing approval, possessions, or endless comfort, believing these things will bring lasting fulfillment. Yet when confronted with mortality, those pursuits often lose their importance. What remains meaningful are the moments of courage, the relationships built with sincerity, the wisdom gained through experience, and the positive impact left on others. This is why reflecting on death can become one of the most powerful practices for personal growth. It reminds you that every argument does not deserve your energy, every distraction does not deserve your attention, and every fear does not deserve your obedience. People who accept this truth develop a rare sense of clarity. They stop postponing meaningful work, speak honestly, forgive more easily, and act with greater purpose because they understand that time is life's most valuable gift. Living with mortality in mind is not about expecting the end, it is about refusing to waste the present. And when you embrace that perspective, you become ready for the final insight that transforms the fear of death into the deepest appreciation for life. The deepest appreciation for life is born the moment you stop running from death. Mortality is not life's greatest enemy, it is its greatest reminder. It reminds you that every sunrise is a gift, every meaningful conversation is irreplaceable, and every decision becomes part of the legacy you leave behind. This is the ultimate lesson of the law of death denial. The people who live the fullest lives are not those who ignore death, but those who allow the awareness of it to shape how they think, love, create, and lead. They understand that time is life's only non-renewable resource, and they refuse to spend it on fear, resentment, or meaningless distractions. Ask yourself one final question. If today were your last ordinary day, would you be proud of the way you chose to live it? That question is not meant to create fear. It is meant to awaken purpose. When you stop assuming there will always be another tomorrow, you begin giving your best to today. You become more courageous, more grateful, more compassionate, and more intentional with every choice you make. Because in the end, the measure of a life is never the number of years you lived. It is the depth of your character, the lives you touched, and the purpose you fulfilled while you were here. And that is the final wisdom of the laws of human nature. To understand yourself, understand others, and live each day with the clarity that only the awareness of mortality can provide.